The Trump Organization has removed its longtime chief financial officer from multiple leadership positions at its subsidiaries just weeks after his criminal indictment. Public filings with the Florida Division of Corporations show Allen Weisselberg was stripped from roles in at least 7 entities tied to the Trump Organization. The move comes after he was accused of helping to run a 15-year scheme for executives to evade taxes on employee perks and benefits. New York prosecutors charged Weisselberg with 15 felony counts, including grand larceny, earlier this month. He and the Trump Organization have pleaded not guilty on all counts. CBS News has reached out to the Trump Organization for comment, but has not heard back yet. So, CBS News political reporter Melissa Quinn has been following the story for us. We're going to bring her in to discuss. So, Melissa, what titles did Weisselberg lose, and who holds those roles now?
So what you see in these filings with the Florida Division of Corporations, that in annual reports filed back in April, Weisselberg is listed as the executive vice president, treasurer, and secretary of these 7 entities that we were able to find filings for. But then last week on January 9th, amended annual reports for these 7 entities were filed, and Weisselberg's name is no longer listed. Instead, it's Donald Trump Jr., former President Donald Trump's oldest son, who now holds these roles. For some of the entities as well, Eric Trump is listed as the president for these subsidiaries, and for others, he's listed as the president, chairman, or director. But what these filings show is that while Weisselberg was listed in April as holding these positions as officers of the subsidiaries, he's no longer listed in those roles now, went to Donald Trump Jr. after his indictment.
So why would the Trump Organization want to remove Weisselberg from these subsidiaries following his indictment?
So as you mentioned, the Trump Organization didn't respond to a request for comment asking for an explanation as to these changes. But former federal prosecutors that I've spoken with have said that for any company that is under indictment, as we know the Trump Organization is now, that's of course going to bring adverse business consequences. And that of course holds true when a chief financial officer of a company like Allen Weisselberg is also facing charges as he is from New York prosecutors. So it's very possible that the Trump Organization is looking to sort of mitigate concerns that state regulators or vendors it may want to do business with, or even possible lenders could have about Weisselberg still holding these titles for its subsidiaries.
So then why keep him on with the title of CFO for the Trump Organization?
Well, Allen Weisselberg has worked for the Trump Organization, or I should say for the Trump family, since 1973. And he's held several roles within the Trump Organization, obviously most recently as the chief financial officer. So this is a person who has a wealth of knowledge about the inner workings of the Trump Organization. He's also somebody who appears to be pretty trusted by the Trump family. If you remember back in 2017, when former President Trump took office, he handed over day-to-day operations of the Trump Organization to 3 people: Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, his 2 sons, and Allen Weisselberg being the 3rd. So this is obviously somebody who knows a lot about the inner workings of this company and is also very close to the family.
So is it likely that Weisselberg could be reinstated if in the roles, could he be reinstated if he were to be acquitted?
Well, unfortunately, like I said earlier, the Trump Organization didn't provide an explanation for these changes, but it certainly seems like, given the fact that he's still in his position as CFO, it's likely. And sources familiar with the Trump Organization's operations told CBS News yesterday that he remains with the company. So it certainly seems likely that if the case progresses, he is acquitted by a jury in New York, he could potentially be reinstated. We'll just have to wait and see how the case from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office plays out.
Of course, who could forget Michael Cohen in 2018? He flipped on his former boss, former President Trump, in the hopes of reducing his prison sentence by telling federal prosecutors about his ex-boss's role in making hush money payments to adult actress Stormy Daniels. And he also talked a little bit about this idea of inflating the assets to get loans and deflating them to pay fewer taxes. Could something similar to this happen with Weisselberg? If he is convicted, could he then try to, limit his punishment by singing?
Well, former federal prosecutors that I've spoken with have said that based on the indictment that we saw earlier this month, it seemed like Manhattan investigators were trying to really ramp up the pressure on Allen Weisselberg to provide them with information about the inner workings of the Trump Organization, or even provide them information that could lead them closer to former President Donald Trump. That would be hugely helpful to prosecutors' case. This is a person who has worked with the Trump Organization for decades, who is close with the Trump family. He may be able to speak to whether the former president knew that the law was being broken, as prosecutors have alleged the Trump Organization and Weisselberg was doing. So that would be hugely helpful. Weisselberg, though, pleaded not guilty to all 15 charges that were brought against him by Manhattan's district attorney. And his attorney in court said that he planned to fight all 15 of these charges. So at this stage, it seems unlikely that Weisselberg is going to flip on the former president and provide prosecutors and cooperate with their investigation.
Melissa, thank you very much as always.
Thank you.